Hi everyone, this is Rebecca Johnson. This is my oral exam for EPSY 7210 with Dr. Grantham. First, I'll talk about my course objectives. I picked three. Number two, recognize prejudice and oppressive institutional structures in education that marginalize gifted students from culturally diverse backgrounds, specifically race, class, gender, and language issues. Number four, analyze the influence of culturally unresponsive environments on the psychological, social, and emotional development of culturally diverse students in gifted programs. And number eight, develop a plan to use multicultural approaches to address homeschool community relations that support gifted programs and empower students and their families. Before this class, I was somewhat aware of how some students are discriminated against, but I was not aware to the extent that the course content has shown. The example I have used throughout the course is my time working in an inner city school comprised of almost all minority students who are also low income. As I've mentioned, it bothered me that no gifted programming or even an identification process was in place. However, I did not realize how systemic and pervasive the issue of resegregation was until taking this class and reading, listening, and watching the course content and resources provided. Also, after listening to the Fraser, Troutman, Scott, and Ford presentation, I became aware of how important it is to provide authentic multicultural curriculum that maintains high rigor, not just taking an additive approach, but truly integrating a multicultural approach that helps minority students see themselves in the history and allows the majority culture to understand how minority cultures have impacted culture at large. Here are just a few of the items that stood out to me in the course content. The U46 case reading and Dr. Ford's presentation of it, the Dr. Fraser, Troutman, Scott, and Dr. Ford presentation, specifically Boykin's Afrocentric styles, the importance of having knowledge of and being aware of cultural differences. I was struck by the examples of spirituality and reading body language, which I'll touch back on that in a second. The Kindle reading and presentation, the importance of doing our personal work. The My Peace assignment really was impacting and interesting to see how, when we take a closer look at our own background and tendencies of bias and attitudes and beliefs, it really struck me that, have to dig a little deeper to understand, our own thinking and to change that as necessary. And then the Katana reading on gifted potential and poverty. I thought this was important in involving parents in decision-making roles instead of just surface roles, providing parent educational resources and events, and just really supporting parents, especially students of low socioeconomic status, who they need support just of basic needs, not just an academic level. So I feel speaking up for these students, being aware of their needs, interacting with parents to find out what's going on, finding areas that those families can contribute in real areas, not just, come be on this field trip, but really be involved in shaping their child's education. And then back to the Afrocentric styles, Boykin's Afrocentric styles that Dr. Fraser, Troutman, Scott, and Dr. Ford mentioned. The traits that were mentioned were spirituality, harmony, movement, verve, affect, communalism, oral tradition, expressive individualism, social time, perspective. I thought it was interesting that in consideration of these traits, it caused me to be more aware and not misjudge issues. For example, here were some ways these attributes can manifest themselves according to Dr. Fraser, Troutman, Scott, and Dr. Ford. In the affect area, teachers stepping back from a student, and students reading that emotional cue as, okay, that teacher is not interested in me, or, has distanced themselves from me. And it could just be, their example was maybe the student hadn't washed their clothes in a week or something, and, you don't know the student's circumstances, but you're stepping back communicated to them on an emotional level that may cause them to shut down academically for the rest of the year in your classroom. So I thought it's important to be aware of those things and not to do those, even if it's our tendency to do those, or maybe we feel justified in doing it and we have our reasons. Well, we can't always communicate those reasons clearly, or they can easily be misunderstood, the body language that we demonstrate. Also, if a student's talking too much, this can be misunderstood and not recognized as they're just trying to be communal or help other students. The other one was worried about other students' performance and at the risk of being accused of cheating. So a student is worried about her classmate, so she goes and tries to make sure her classmate gets finished on time, and instead it looks like to the teacher that maybe the student is helping that student with the answers, and it's not really that. It's the child's worried about their peer not completing a task. So it's important to be aware of motivations the students have and not just assume that we're correct in our misunderstanding of what they're doing. And then the other thing that struck me was spirituality, praying before a test. I mean, I thought that was just an interesting example of how we can make assumptions about other people or assert our own, habits and behaviors on others and think they should, be like us. And we just need to be more aware, I feel, of students and where they're coming from and what behaviors they might exhibit as a result of, their background or where they're coming from. And don't just assume, that, well, because this would be unacceptable in my culture, therefore it's unacceptable in all cultures. I think it just lends itself to, if we have attitudes and beliefs like that, then we're automatically going to be biased because we're not making an effort to understand the cultural biases that we bring to the table. So, next slide, future plans. So I try to think of some action items that I could take away from the course and, not just feel moved by it in a sense of, emotionally impacted, but to actually take action. And these were some of the things I came up with. Bring awareness to addressing the needs of culturally diverse students through professional development. Excuse me. Advocate for underrepresented populations of gifted students. Getting training in the Torrance test for creativity and the FTABs to better identify culturally diverse students. Integrate authentic multicultural perspectives into the curriculum while maintaining rigor, and be aware of and incorporate Boykin's Afrocentric components into the classroom. And my last slide, networking and resources. I found some articles on the Davidson Institute, which is a great resource. It's free. You can call, talk to them. You can find things on the website. So the article that I found here is entitled Gifted Programming for Poor and Minority Urban Students, Issues and Lessons Learned. The website offers resources such as teaching strategies and ways to support talent development of minority populations. This statement is taken directly from the website. Gaps in the achievement between poor and more advantaged children and minority and non-minority students of all ages continue to be the most central problem in the field of education. The second item listed here is the Jacob K. Javits Gifted and Talented Students Education Program. The purpose of this program is, and I've taken this directly from the website, the purpose of this program is to carry out a coordinated program of evidence-based research, demonstration projects, innovative strategies, and similar activities designed to build and enhance the ability of elementary schools and secondary schools nationwide to identify gifted and talented students and meet their special educational needs. The major emphasis of the program is on serving students traditionally underrepresented in gifted and talented programs, particularly economically disadvantaged, limited English proficient, and disabled students, to help reduce the serious gap in achievement among the certain groups of students at the highest levels of achievement. And the third one is the Quest Bridge, connecting low socioeconomic students with top universities. This information is taken from their website. Abundant low-income talent exists. Annually, approximately 30,000 talented low-income students nationally are academically qualified to attend the nation's best colleges, but the majority of them don't even apply to one selective college. Already in the system, there is abundant raw talent and tens of thousands of academically prepared, talented low-income students in America to match top low-income students with every full need scholarship that top American colleges provide. There need be no academic gap if we can bring our best low-income students into the system. And then the last one is the NAGC website. This is a good resource if you're looking for information and articles pertaining to minority students who are gifted. And the annual conference provides many great sessions and networking opportunities and opportunities to join committees as an active member. Thank you for listening. I've really enjoyed being in class with all of you. I've really enjoyed the course content. It's really made me look deeper and reflect on my own beliefs and attitudes. and biases, and to try to restructure those and deconstruct what was already there. Good luck with your future plans. Thanks, everybody.